everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Female Empowered Podcast. I'm once again your host, Krista Gurka. And today you don't have to listen to only me talk because I have a guest, which is wonderful. We have Kaleen here. We were actually just looking at the last time she was on the show. She is a former guest. First episode was episode 86. So if you want to go all the way back to the archives of 2021, which is crazy to think about, 5 years ago, episode 86, we featured Kaleen and her role in she was the founder of Flexia, which is a reformer brand. She has a long history with Balance Body. She's a Pilates instructor, but also an engineer. She has so much knowledge and information. She's going to chat with us today about the online space and online studios and stuff. But Kaleen, would you take a moment and just introduce yourself to the audience again? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what your work has been in the Pilates world.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to be back. I love our conversations so much. I'm a mechanical engineer and a Pilates instructor, and I work at the intersection of Pilates and technology. So I first found Pilates when I got a job as an engineer at Balance Body. I've worked as an equipment technician, and then in 2020, I founded Flexia, which is the world's first smart Pilates company. So imagine a professional grade reformer, an online studio platform, some sensors on the machine, some content, etc. And then I exited Flexia last year, and now I'm working on my next company, which is Motra. And the whole point of this is to continue that dive into Pilates and technology and empower Pilates pros to make more money. I know
I
as an
love
instructor
that.
what it's like. It's so hard to make a living. And let's get technology into Pilates to help us help more people and make more money.
I think that's so great. And it's one of the things, well, first of all, we don't see that many women in the tech space, number one. I think just in terms of big tech, right? For sure, it's more, but it's definitely a small percentage, number one. Number two, as a female founder in tech, even less,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I think too, in the Pilates just universe, we're movement-based people for the most part. And so I love how you said the intersection between movement and tech, because even though I'm not as tech savvy, I'm learning to be tech savvy and embrace it. I do think that's the future of how we stay ahead of the game. And you can either adapt or die. And I want to see the Pilates industry continue to adapt and be here for the next 50 years. And so I love conversations with women like you because you actually have the knowledge base of the tech side and the movement side. So we're not just talking about coders, but you have both. You really do have both, which is so, so, so exciting.
Yeah. And I love this. I love the way you frame that. And I want to be clear from the beginning. I don't believe AI is going to replace an
No.
instructor. That's not what we're talking about here. Technology is really good at a lot of things that Pilates instructors do in their head. And that we should get technology to help us do
Mhm.
those things better so we can do the things that only humans are good at.
So
And if
good.
we advance Pilates along the way, make it more scientifically
Mhm.
competitive and literate, make people feed real Pilates data into these huge digital health algorithms that are starting to rule our lives, that's just a win for all of us Pilates pros.
So good. I'm definitely clipping that part. It is a win. It is a win. And I agree. I don't think AI is, I mean, maybe down the road there'll be, but it will never replace the real thing. It will never
No.
replace the real thing. And we can learn to use technology to make our lives easier, whether that be through how we build our business, how we track metrics. I'm talking not even movement metrics, but business metrics. How can AI help us buy back some of our time in terms of writing sales page copy or helping me plan a retreat and just being, here's where I would to go. Can you find me 5 of the best bed and breakfast within this zip code. Right? I mean, we can embrace things to make our lives easier. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear, I forget if I asked you this the first time, but I would love to hear how we're going to just go way back a little bit, how you took your mechanical engineering brain and got into Pilates. Was it through Balance Body, right? Was it through there? Did you think this when you were becoming a mechanical engineer? Were you just a tinkerer? Is that kind of what you love to do? And then applied for a job at a Pilates company? How did that happen?
Yeah, I got a job at Balance Body as an engineer, having never done Pilates before.
Okay.
I had a lot of experience in a wood shop. My dad was a professional woodworker for years and years and years, and I loved to build things. And I had several jobs in automotive industry, in the orthopedic implant industry, and they were a part of big organizations. And the Balance Body job was a three-person engineering team. I was the third person, right next to the manufacturing floor, working with the creators. It was a mechanical engineering dream job. And so I started taking Pilates to learn more about what I was designing, building, and breaking. And it changed my life. I tore my ACL in high school twice, had surgery.
Same.
And had chronic knee pain for 10 years. Despite the rehab, I bopped around from different fitness methods, and I felt it was always start, stop. And Pilates made me able to have a real life. I mean, it was great. And so that's when I started my teacher training. And I left Balance Body a couple years later and split my time between teaching Pilates in a studio and traveling the country as a Pilates equipment technician. So that was the transition where I was, look, I've had a lot of engineering jobs for not a very long time, each of them, because I get bored. I want to solve problems. I don't want to do the same thing every day. I want to be my own boss. And I knew that there was a huge need for people to support primarily women owners of studios and Pilates equipment. I saw behind the scenes how they were treated, how few resources they have, and how simple the equipment was actually to work on. And that was my first foray into, I went from service-based trading time for money to building my first online courses. I taught studio owners how to take care of their equipment. Program ranges from $30 to $500. And then I created the world's first Pilates equipment technician program. So
I
that was
bought it.
more,
It was
yeah,
great. I loved
yeah.
it.
So higher price point. And through those travels, I saw problems across the industry that I just wanted to keep poking at and solve. And that's what led to Flexia, this idea that there wasn't a Pilates reformer that fit the bodies that actually came into the studios, that there wasn't a place to get one of them that was consumer friendly. People wanted to either have a hybrid setup, home and in a studio, or they wanted to go only work out at home because cost, accessibility, whatever. And I had this bug. I had been tinkering for a couple years about sensors and Pilates and what can we measure and what's important. And not, I think the big misconception about the conversation in Pilates and tech right now is this concept of one product is going to solve the whole Pilates problem at once. And I've been working on what's the first step? What's the second step? Can this make a difference? Knowing it's not the complete solution for 7 years now. So that's in the end. And so with Flexia, that was my experience creating a new product, pre-selling, designing a reformer from scratch, which I never did at Balance Body, figuring out how to get it manufactured, raising venture capital. So I've raised millions in venture capital, and then manufacturing thousands of reformers and running a six-figure online studio. And
Amazing.
so, yeah, that culminated in an exit last year. And now I'm in the tinkering and solving solving the next problems.
Yeah.
Plural.
So let's talk about that. What are you solving for today?
So Pilates classes exist in a 60-minute window, specifically, especially assume I'm talking about a group class, which is how most people experience Pilates these days. It exists in a 60-minute window. After 60 minutes, it's gone. What you did, do you remember what you taught? Does the student remember what they did? More importantly, does the student remember how they experienced each of those exercises? Might be hard for one, easy for another. And so it's impossible to connect 5 group classes together in the way that we try and do in private sessions. Private sessions, we try usually to build one on top of the other. This is a super common thing in every other fitness modality. Strength, PT, PT is in personal training and physical therapy, cardio. There are metrics you can measure to make a path to achieve a goal. And in Pilates, that goal is so tied to feeling that it is really hard to get a positive feedback loop going. And a lot of people are so disconnected from their bodies. And so when I think about, okay, what am I solving? There are a lot of problems that can be solved in the industry if we know what happens in a Pilates session. And it is actually Pilates relevant. So it crosses Pilates, but also common health metrics, right? What do we know about breath? What do we know about body awareness? What do we know about strength? What do we know about cardio, right? Pilates isn't one of those, it's many of those. So how do we start picking out pieces of that to easily carry over into the design of the next class? And there are a lot of ways to do that. So I have one platform now, which is Motra, and that helps Pilates studios build an online studio. And the point of that is not to host a video library. The point of that is to analyze what's in their classes and actually make the end user experience for their students an elevated fitness experience specifically for Pilates. So what's in a class? What have you done this week? What did you do in studio? And what should you do the next class based on the last 7 days or the last 14 days or what your goals are? And that's the throughput, I think, that can launch a lot of other interesting angles from the Pilates perspective.
So I'm going to put my brain in the minds of some listeners. And so some people lost you at technology and they're what? So let's just say for an instructor who's this just sounds way more than I need to do. I just want to teach footwork and my feet and straps, et cetera, et cetera. Can you break it down for them and how this helps them help their clients in a real life situation? So Krista comes in, she's ready to teach her class. How can I incorporate Motra? What does it actually do for me and my client?
Yeah, great question. So the conversation we're having is, I will do to bring it back, is focused on building an online platform for your in-person Pilates studio. I've talked to countless instructors who tell me they spend 15 minutes after every private session making notes, planning for the next class, right? What did they do in this last session? How did that person feel? I have a friend who has a collection of videos that she's accumulated over time from COVID and before that she stores and then will manually hunt for and email certain videos to send to her clients when they're applicable. Go do your homework. This is important. And the common theme that I hear all the time from my clients is, well, I want to come more, but I can't afford it, or I can't get into the studio, or I don't want to teach more than X number of hours a week.
Mhm.
How can I help those students improve their results, feel better through an online content platform, a student management system? And so in Motra, not only is there a class library option if you want to have multiple classes stored, Netflix, Peloton,
Mhm.
think about that. The thing that makes those big platforms powerful is not that they have thousands of pieces of content, it's that they personalize what they recommend. And if you take a platform, Uscreen, which anybody who has thought about it, opening an online studio, has probably seen. It's a generic platform and it has all the business tools, but it has no Pilates specific tools.
Mhm.
And so any tags, any specific concepts or themes or contraindications, it makes it impossible to personalize a Pilates program for someone. So you just don't know what's in the class. I've filmed hundreds of videos. I don't know what's in them. I
Mhm.
barely remember the last five. It's our brains should not and cannot remember that. So on Motra, there's the library, but then there's a way to do programs and there's a way to assign individual homework. And this is why I think that the tools need to evolve for Pilates teachers in studio. As you and I have talked, right? Just
Mhm.
having videos, they just sit there. Clients don't watch them. You're like, why did I spend time on this? This is dumb. But an online studio is not working. But think about the reasons that an in-person, one-on-one, or one-to-many relationship works. There's accountability, there's community, and there's personalization. And that has to carry over into the digital world for it to be effective. And that's what Motra does, is to tie those things together. Can you make it that person feel accountable? If I don't do this, my teacher knows, not in the way of like, I can't do this thing as well as I did, right? But they can see, did I do this when we weren't together?
Mhm.
And that makes a big difference. A big part of our job as an instructor is accountability, like whether you want it to be or not.
So
And
is the way that you envision this, like I'm a client of yours at
mhm,
XYZ Studio.
mhm,
When I enroll in my whatever membership I decide to get, 2 classes a week, 3 classes a week, whatever it is, I also get access to this online portal as well. I can then go in and maybe see like this class I took. I'm taking this because I saw this from your Instagram, so I'm assuming this like is something, but it could like my instructor or would automatically do it. I'm not sure. Would say like these are the muscles, etc., that you worked during this class. Here are the follow-up exercises or maybe additional classes that we recommend for you at home. I, as a client, can decide if I'm going to do it or not do it, but it kind of does the work for me and being like, this is the recommendation. I'm also wondering, because you did mention Netflix, would it learn enough about me through all the stuff that I do that it will then start to recommend additional things for me, if that makes sense?
that's the goal.
Okay,
That's
that's the
the
goal.
goal.
Okay.
Yeah, to your point, and we saw this at Flexia. Decision fatigue is the
Oh,
worst
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Netflix knows they have 90 seconds to get you to pick something to watch or they
you're
lose.
off. Yeah.
And people on average spend 1.8 seconds looking at each title. How are you supposed to decide? So, surfacing those recommendations is really key. And what happens currently in the fitness world which is important, is that, especially on Peloton, 80% of all the classes that are taken today were published in the last 2 weeks. Peloton's content is designed to be relevant. I mean, they're an entertainment company.
Mhm.
Um, it's it's timely. But that's true across all platforms. And at Flexia, when we stopped bulk launching and went to twice a week, we saw engagement increase, we saw churn decrease. People stopped asking us when the next class was going to come out. They stopped leaving saying there aren't enough classes, even though they didn't do all the classes,
Mhm.
right? So there's this idea of making the choice easier for someone. And so there's low-hanging fruit there. There's low-hanging fruit that doesn't need Pilates specific um, information to go from a random library to something that is interesting for the client and that has a lot to do with consistently posting. But can you go from, you know, uh, what's the low budget, like free movie platform? Like, how do you go from
Yeah.
nothing to that to then Netflix?
Yeah.
Right? And Pilates literally cannot go to Netflix because it lacks anything, any information to put into the algorithms about what Pilates is. So, back to your point, yes, let's think about what has a client done on the platform, then what have they done in studio, then maybe they went for a walk. And the generic thing we want to do as a Pilates teacher, if we know nothing about the person, is balanced muscle development.
Mhm.
Okay, so what should your muscle heat map look like? But what if you have an injury? Or what if you have a specific goal? Then your heat map might look a little bit different. So, what are some activities we can suggest, including Pilates, that help achieve that heat on your body muscle map?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm hearing too, correct me if I'm wrong, is how this could help Pilates studio owners, right? Is now you're taking what we're offering to our clients and making it more than just coming to the studio to lie on the reformer and take a class, right? We're giving them something that is will be hopefully too sticky for them to leave because we're giving them this like real holistic experience, right? So whereas yes, we talk about community building in a studio. We talk about like, let's be more than just a number. Let's know people's names. That makes people feel like they don't want to leave because they're somehow committed. But if another studio does that, it's not that sticky for them to leave, right? Whereas when we have our scheduling platforms, it's really sticky for us to leave because the thought of switching a platform is like ripping off 5 million band-aids all at the same time. So the way that I'm hearing this is like if if clients are like, oh, I want to leave, but they're like, God, I get like this is not just Pilates for me. It tells me I could walk to increase like my goal of exercising, or I should do more flexibility. These are some stretching exercise I could do. Like they give me so much more than just lying on the Pilates bed, which if you can be an early adopter of this, will put you far ahead of the competition, which is opening on every corner in America today.
Yes. I think one thing I've noticed over the last 10 years is the people I was teaching 10 years ago often only did Pilates.
Mhm.
Maybe they walked. Pilates was the only form of fitness. It worked for them. They were happy.
Those were the glory days of boutique fitness. Those, by the way, 10 years ago, boutique fitness, you could literally put up a shingle and you could have clients. Like you didn't have to buy ads. You were like, those were the glory days of boutique fitness. Yes,
Yeah,
no longer.
yeah, no longer. And now We see that our clients are doing multiple things. I mean, my clients love ClassPass, and I'm like,
Mhm.
hmm, but they want a sample.
They want a little bit of everything.
And that makes that makes it hard to fit into someone's life and understand how Pilates fits into their life. And that's if you can make it easier to fit into their life and get more of what they love without making them have to pay a bunch more money, without you having to show up more hours a week in person. That's a big differentiator. And
Mhm.
I believe, I'm not talking like this is not designed for people who only have an online presence. And I believe that's because of the community that's developed in an in-person studio and experience. You've developed a trust there. Online marketing is its own beast.
Totally different.
And in fact, only if you look at the statistics between online only fitness platforms, the churn rates are insane. They're
Yeah.
so high, people leave so quick. And connected fitness, the Pelotons, the Tonals, the Flexias of the world, were so popular for a while with investors because their churn rate was so low because people had invested in, they had this product that not only built trust, but they paid to be a part of. It's a part of a bigger experience than just showing up on screen. And so this ecosystem, this is not a replace your studio. This is not become an influencer. This is how can you help more people on their schedule without charging them an arm and a leg? How can you make more money and slowly start to build this concept of, well, I don't have to show up to make $80. If I do this work, it could be worth a few $100s for the same amount of work. That's scalable recurring revenue. And I want more of that in Pilates teachers' lives.
We all do.
So I think those two things work together.
Yeah.
That makes a powerful recurring revenue engine because you don't need to perfect these online marketing skills that sort of
Are totally
MLM
different.
market, online market, right? You have a relationship with the people in your studio, and it
Yeah.
becomes a normal part of the studio's operations. Oh, did you do the class for the whole, this week's mat class at home? Oh, you're having some heel pain, plantar fasciitis. Here, let me send you this video.
Yep.
I'm going to ask if you do it next week,
Yep.
right? Like, and I can see that's that takes that personalization, that knowing someone's name, that takes that relationship to the next level. So um, you differentiate from other studios. And if you're talking about exits, you've got a much more attractive business model for someone to come in and buy.
Yeah. Well, you took me right to my next question because, of course, great minds, right? Um, yeah, like recurring revenue is what buyers are looking for. Like any smart buyer is looking for a recurring revenue model. You know, studies are showing anywhere from like they would love to see 50% or more in recurring revenue. Some studies are showing they want to see more. I think it's just variable, really. But let's take this now into like, how does this become, like, how do you envision this becoming recurring revenue for a studio? So I'm adopting, I'm like, I'm in. Tell me how I can add obviously value to my clients, but how do I add recurring revenue to my P&L?
There are a couple ways to think about it, depending on the problem you want to solve. Do you have below average retention?
No, they have above average
If you have
retention.
above average retention, I would look at how do you expand your total client base? Can you get people to come into the studio one less time, spend that money on your online studio subscription so they get 8 classes at home and they come into the studio 7 times instead of 8 times a month. And you fill their space with another person in person who also buys the online studio portion of your offering. So you're starting to, one, we want a lot of people in the online and the in-person studio so that you're not reliant on just a few clients if they all go on vacation or if it's a slow summer or whatever, right? Having more people regularly committed to your studio, great thing. And then being able to build up, hey, can I have 50 clients on this premium package that right now I start and maybe I have 2, but I keep doing that work and that same 2 or 3 hours a week of filming, editing, uploading, stop serving 2 people and start serving 50 people with literally the same amount of work.
Which is true scale.
Which is this is why software companies are so valuable.
This is why SaaS
right?
companies sell for 15 times the
Yes.
multiples, right?
Yes.
Because that's true scale. When
Yes.
people say, oh, I want to scale my Pilates studio, I'm like, you want to grow your Pilates studio. Like, unfortunately, the only way to truly scale is what you're talking about, that the
Yes.
amount of work, expense, and time stays the same, but the amount of like people that can have access to it increases.
Yes. Yes. So
And so
that
what are you looking at in terms of, what are you envisioning in terms of like price point? So let's say someone buys a 4 class a month membership, it's $129. They can come in 4 times a month to the studio. What are you envisioning in terms of helping studios price this for their clients? Are you envisioning like a tier type thing as well? Like, oh, you get access to this much of the online platform, or anyone in any membership can add the online platform for, I don't know, $29 a month, $99 a month. Where are you seeing this hopefully go to?
I think about this in terms of leaps and experimentation.
Right.
So any business, and I do want to talk about like how you get started because this is really important, is experimenting what works for your clients and knowing you're going to get it wrong and being able to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
So the hypothesis you start with, can I use that mental model of costs one group class price per month to get access to the online portal. So then you have, okay, so maybe this is $39, maybe it depends on your studio, right? Then you go along and you see what is the adoption? What are people saying about this?
Mm-hmm.
For some people, that might work really well. For other people, that might mean people might not be interested in adding it, but they're willing to think about the pricing differently if you say you bundle it. The
Mm-hmm.
membership price goes up, but you get this included. And that's why you come to this studio over someone else's, because the membership gives you more benefits. So there's a few different ways to think about it. I think the final piece of that is getting into the personalized. If you're going from, hey, I'm a 10 reformer group studio to I mostly have private clients. Now you can start talking about those really the high ticket items. And you go, this is a coaching platform. I give you homework. It's not written on a post-it note. It's not my hand-drawn diagrams. It's in a platform designed to support you while you're away. And this is an important mental model that I think we need to talk about more in the Pilates world. And I think it used to be implied, but it's sort of fading with the rise of group fitness. This concept of Pilates teachers are experts, movement experts, well-trained experts. Why does someone need to come to me and pay me $100 just to move their body? Think about music teachers. I mean, you could even think about personal trainers. Come to me once a week and do this when you're not with me, because I can give you something you can't get on your own, but you will make better progress if you go practice this without me, which is more accessible, but also without me as a crutch every
Mhm.
time you move. And that model, Pilates is so ripe for that. It is the teaching, the learning that happens in Pilates, in a good Pilates class, is so important. That's why I fell in love with Pilates. I learned about my body, and that
Mhm.
carried over into the rest of the physical activities I did. And so not only is that a more interesting business model to me, it's also something that helps, it's more scalable business model, but it's better for the clients, more people, and it helps hopefully studio teachers work less, avoid
Mhm.
burnout. Like, look, my level's 8 hours a week. It's not a full-time job. I don't teach more than that. I don't know how I could. But everybody, so there's a few ways I want that transition of, hey, I'm just giving the service because people come in and want to move with me, to not being afraid, to saying, I know things, I can guide them, even if I don't know everything, but I can guide them on this journey of learning about their body and how they
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. What about people that would push back and say, well, what if they love the online platform so much it's at a lower price point and now they don't come in twice a week?
And you didn't really have them in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I would also say, uh, those people who only do online fitness, their average retention is 3 months.
Right.
And so across all fitness,
Yeah.
that's not going to be something that people stick with for a long time. You have to be
You
able
have to
to
have both.
let them go and be like, I'm going to focus on the people who value what I'm offering,
Right.
because they're going to stick around. And then I don't have to go find every 3 months. I don't have to go find someone new to come into the studio. I'm sure, yeah, that's why retention is so important, is because it's
Yeah.
work to get new
Yeah.
people into the studio.
It is. It's expensive work
Yeah.
and it's work, and retention is great. Okay, so let's talk about, someone's listening to this and they're like, this sounds really exciting to me, but I don't know how to, like, what is the number one first step you would advise someone to do if they wanted to like adopt this into their studio? Like, what is required of them to get started, and like what does the first year look like for them, or even the first 3 months?
Before you decide to start, you have to think about, why do you want to build an online studio? Who are you teaching? How much time do you really have to devote to this? I think there's two big myths to bust about starting an online studio, which is, one, it's passive income,
Right.
and two, you're going to have a meteoric rise to fame because you
You're
have
gonna go viral tomorrow.
that's not the case. Um, Tacked on to that myth, which is, once you decide, okay, I want to help more people without teaching more hours in person, and um, thinking about, can I commit to this regularly for a period of 6 months, 2 to 3 hours a week? That's it. The beauty of that is, yes, it's more work, but it's different work than teaching, and you can do it whenever. You don't have to schedule with a client, but you should schedule with yourself. So getting yourself set up for that. So you decide, yes, I want to do this. You can launch in 10 days. Flexia launched with 8 classes. I have another friend whose company launched with 3 classes. And the reason I say that is not because you're always going to have 8 classes. It's because it's what you do after your launch that makes the biggest impact. So you launch with your 3 classes, you get a couple of your clients who are interested in the idea. You say, here's your program, right? In Motra, you said you make your programs, you have your weekly classes, you can assign homework. You have them use it for a month. You launch 2 classes a week. That you have to do that. You have to be consistent at launching in a predictable way. That's the thing that makes this successful. And then you have very honest conversations with those people testing it. How does this fit into your life? What do you like about it? What do you wish we did differently? What do you want next? And sometimes I'll even say, like, this feedback loop is a really interesting thing. Sometimes I'd say give them surveys to fill out because you want them to be honest.
Mm.
A lot of times people can't be honest face to
Mhm.
face. They love you, they don't want to hurt your feelings, whatever. But you need the brutal feedback to tell you if you're on the right track or not. And then you open it up to more students after a month. You launch 2 classes a week for 6 months. That's 24 classes, 48 classes. Right? So the library slowly builds. Your subscriber base will slowly build. That's the logistics of it. Now, the investment part of it is really important too. I say you need to launch 3 classes in 10 days because until you're a 6-figure subscription, you should not be using any contractors to film your videos. You should not use any camera besides your iPhone. You should spend less than $100 on lights. And you should spend $100 on a mic. You do all your own editing.
Yeah.
And we mess that up at Flexia. Like, this is one of the big things. At one point, we 10x the production cost of our videos. Not only did it slow the film to launch cycle down, that just made getting feedback worse. It made launching consistently harder. And it made incorporating feedback from our clients, our subscribers to our teachers so slow. Like, what if someone requests something and they don't get it for 3 months? Like, they're gone.
Mhm.
And I thought when we cut back on all this, we started filming in-house again. We did our own editing. I thought people would complain. But instead, people were happier. They didn't leave. Our churn went way down. Our engagement went way up. And guess what? Our costs went way down.
Yeah.
And so this concept of, like, the biggest barrier to starting is the consistency part. You don't need to order fancy things. You don't need to create fancy programming. Like, first 5 classes you do should mirror classes you have in class. You use the same language. You use the similar cues. Maybe it's on a mat instead of a reformer. But it's an extension of the in-studio experience. It's not some perfect vision of whatever Instagram.
Right.
That's not the goal. So that's the starting point. And as you build your class library, you have more tools, you have more content to reach into and assign people homework and create programs. When we ran challenges at Flexia during the month, we do like a month of a challenge or 2 weeks of a challenge, and then we do nothing. The engagement of our users went way up, and people voluntarily told us, I love this because I don't want to think about what class to take.
Mhm.
So again, going on that sort of Netflix
People really don't want to think.
concept. They
They
don't.
don't.
They show up. I mean, why do they show up to your class? They don't want to
No,
think.
precisely. They want someone to tell them what to do.
So all of those things, right? It's really very simple, and the hardest part is to keep doing it.
Yeah. What have you found in your like research with Flexia and even now, the time, the class time that someone will dedicate to at home? Is it still like 50, 60 minutes? Is it more like 25, 30 minutes? And is there a recommendation that you're giving people now, like film a real 50-minute class, or you like the home stuff can be less?
In the beginning, it needs to be 30 to 50 minutes,
Okay.
regular classes. We launched with a lot of short classes, and people didn't want that. We had one long class, and it was the most watched class.
Interesting.
Um, how you position it within your studio is important. So, if you find that you're mostly using the platform for homework and you want to give your private clients 10 minutes to do every morning, that's a different story. But when you're talking about a workout, the the mental hurdle for your subscriber to get over, to go from walking around their house with a lot of distractions to logging onto the platform is quite high. And they're not going to log on to do 15 minutes.
Mhm.
They want to log on and go, I'm going to get a good workout. How much of the video they watch is a different story. But there's got to be that I'm going to do this for myself and it's going to be worth it. It's not worth it if they don't perceive the value in 15 minutes. And that's a weird thing. That's what we learned at Flexia. And that's not what we were told.
Yeah. We saw for the time period we had our online program, we started doing 50-minute class. Like that's what we just put on. We just put on 50 minutes. But at the watch time on all of the videos was nowhere near 50 minutes. It ranged 24 to 36 minutes, I want to say. So then we started doing shorter videos. And I was like, well, forget it. I don't need people to spend, but then some people wouldn't even watch those videos. So I see what you're saying in terms of like the mindset is I don't want to sit down if I know the video is only 20 minutes. So they want to turn on a 45 or 50-minute video, but they might not do the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That is just the reality of at-home media.
Yeah. And there was also one of the things we found that was super hard for us. It really was two totally different avatars. Like your in-person studio person is a whole different being than someone who just wants an online experience and has no desire to go into a studio. So it really was like running two completely separate businesses, of which I did not have the bandwidth to do, which is why our online studio really, I'm not going to say it never took off because I didn't give it any love, but I would not know because I didn't give it any love, because it was literally like the marketing is different, the price point is different, the messaging to the because we were trying to say like, oh, you can have both, but really like the person that was coming in studio had different messaging than the person that was like, oh, I just want online stuff. I also think since COVID, things they've rebounded a little bit back. um People are looking for hybrid situations. And I just think you're right. I think like the price point for people, some people are really, when I talk to studio owners are like, we've seen a big dip. And a lot of the reasons we get from people is price point. I just got off a call with someone today that was saying, well, we started doing 30-minute sessions because people said they couldn't afford the full hour. And I'm like, but they come twice a week for 30 minutes, which is the same time as once a week for it's like the same price point. It's just like a mind thing sometimes. And so, but learning who your clientele is, what they care about, and being able to offer something that, Pilates Q down the street is not offering is how we differentiate ourselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money coming into this space right now. A lot of, hence why I was able to exit.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about the money. I also am happy about the fact that, you can, it's the same thing like classical versus contemporary. You can focus on fighting about that shit, or you can just say more people are talking about Pilates, and that's better for all of us.
Yep.
It's better for all of us. And
Absolutely.
small studios can still survive. We just have to embrace how we are different.
Yes.
Right? If you don't want to have 10 reformers in your studio, that's great. Don't have 10 reformers in your studio. Embrace that you have four. Embrace that messaging, because the more people learn about, this is just my soapbox, the more people learn about Pilates, there are some people that are going to go to the 10, 12, 14 studio reform studios and be like, I don't like this. I like the movement. I don't like this container. And they will find you.
Yep.
But business owners, studio owners have to be smarter now. It is not the glory days of 10 years ago where you could be like, oh, I have this boutique fitness studio and I have thousands of members. No,
Yeah.
people have more options, more choices.
Yeah.
So we have to be smarter,
Yeah.
savvier, and be
Yeah.
open our mind to adapt slightly. And so I love these kind of things because it's just teaching us of like, how can we adapt, right? So if people are interested in learning more, because I'm sure lots of people are going to want to learn more, what is the next step? How do they get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Where can they find more information on this?
I have a free 7-day email course on how to launch an online studio.
Love it.
They can get it at motrastudio.com/launch.
We will link that in the show notes.
If you want to hear more about what I'm thinking about and tinkering with, and you want to have I love having conversations about how people really run their business, what's really happening, because that sparks new ideas. Most of that is on my website, my Substack. So that's KaleenCanevari.com.
Great. We will link that in the show notes. I would love to ask you just one final question, if I may, just because you have a lot of information, you're very smart, and you're seeing the industry in a lot of different lights right now, I think.
Mhm.
Where do you see the future of the Pilates industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? I know I kind of threw you a curveball. That's like a big question. So
That was not on our prep
that
sheet,
was not on
Krista.
the prep sheet. That was not on the prep sheet. But I feel like you have such a good vision of where you would like it to go. And so I'm just curious, like, where do you see there's just so much chatter out there about about our industry right now. And I would love to hear from like different colleagues and professionals. Like, where do you see the industry going?
Where I want it to go is that Pilates finds a way to talk about itself in terms that the rest of the health and fitness world understands. And that helps advance the way we're perceived, and it helps streamline everything in our industry, from understanding what kind of training you're getting to picking the right studio as a student to go to integrating Pilates into your broader life. And that's all predicated on being able to talk about Pilates and quantify it in a way that captures the magic.
Mhm.
Understanding Pilates is unique from every other fitness out there, but we're not just like, oh, well, it's just the magic. You just get it, you just feel it. And what I'm afraid will happen is that in the pursuit of that, people with big budgets and flashy products will falsely, good intentions, but falsely associate health metrics with Pilates that don't actually matter. And all that's going to do is turn people off of the
Mhm.
method.
Mhm.
And we see a contraction. And that's right. There's a lot of discussion about the bubble. Are we in a Pilates bubble right now? And I think those are the two paths. And I don't want it to be a bubble. And I think to get out of the bubble and to keep that growth and respect and impact going, we have to get smarter about evolving Pilates and how we teach it and how we program it in the modern tech-enabled world.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. I agree. I think that if we have an opportunity now that whatever happened, and I will say, I'm not going to say that I was the one that called it, but I did say Pilates was going to have a huge resurgence post-COVID because of the in-person aspect. And because most people didn't have reformers at home where you can buy a kettlebell fine at home. Everyone bought Pelotons. People didn't have the knowledge to use the reformers, and they didn't have the space to put reformers in their home. So I was like, Pilates is going to bounce back, and I'm going to work my freaking ass off to make sure I'm here to when it does bounce back. Now I believe it's given us the opportunity that everyone's talking about it. Everyone's doing it from 7 to 77. If we as the Pilates like lovers of like the movement and are looking at it in terms of we love this industry and yes we also want to make money, if we can take those people that are now early adopters in this and just say, even if the bubble bursts, even we have all of these people now, we can still be like, hey, we're not going anywhere, like you can come over here now with us and we're still going to give you the movement with the beautiful like tech that you've come to love from all of these other health and fitness modalities,
Mhm.
right? And the consumer's getting younger, which means that this is how they live. I mean, this is how they live, like it's not like my parents that like don't want to be on this, but this is how they live. And in order to find them, we have to be in here at some point, right? And so I just think like stop worrying about the wrong shit is what I feel like.
Amen.
Good, 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 good. So, Kaleen, thank you. It's always such a great conversation with you. I hope so many people reach out to you. We are going to link all of the things she talked about, her website and her link to do the 7-day email challenge. We'll link it in the show notes. If you need information on her, you can always DM me on Instagram. I'm at Krista Gurka. I will connect you with her directly. And until next time, bye for now.